Okay, nice. We have a few people on already. Hey guys, just give me 1 second. I just want to let a few more people in the room, and then we're gonna get started. Okay. I can see Bibek's got his video on. Hey Bibek. I can see Linda. I can also see Stephen. Hey guys, thanks for joining. I'm receiving messages from people trying to get into the room, so I'm just trying to give them an opportunity to get in, and then we're going to get started. In the meantime, whilst I've got a few of you in the room, just to give me a hand, can you let me know in the chat whether or not you can hear me okay, you can see me okay, everything's coming across nice and clear. Also, can you see the whiteboard that I've got up in the background? If you can just let me know in the chat, that would be really, really helpful. Hey, Linda. Thank you, Linda. Okay, Linda can hear me nice and clear. Brilliant. Bibek, I know you're driving, so just give me a nod if you can hear me okay, mate. Perfect. Brilliant. Okay. Brilliant. Okay, and Stephen said, "Yeah, I can hear you okay and see the whiteboard." Okay, perfect. Amazing. All right, guys. So I would imagine there's a few more people that want to join. They can kind of catch up as we work our way through. So the way I'm going to structure the call is I'm going to go around the room, answer questions, and then what I really wanted to do was whoever's up for it, I want to get one of you on the call with me, and I want to actually kind of go through your roadmap on the call live. I think it will be really useful for everybody to hear that conversation, because I would imagine most of you are in a similar position, right? You're either just starting or you've already kind of started, but maybe you haven't kind of achieved what you was aiming to achieve, and you've seen the results that other people are generating, and you want to get involved, right? You want to get into this business and actually start getting some real results. So what I'm going to do is go through that process with you. I don't think I need to really go through, proof and kind of show you examples of people that have sold. I think everybody that's on the call right now is in the free group. So you've got access to, a whole section dedicated just to the wins. We haven't even finished putting them all in yet because literally there are hundreds. So we're just over time adding them, and then you guys will see them. And again, it's just for motivational purposes, right? It's just for you guys to see it and actually understand that, okay, these guys started exactly where I am. I can do it as well, right? If they can do it, I can do it. None of them are any better or smarter than any of you. All they've done is taken the steps that I've given them and just taken action, right? It's something that I kind of push these guys to do every single day. So, what I would like you guys to do is, hey, Hugh, no worries, mate. No problem. You're not too late. Honestly, we've only just started, so no worries. If you guys can, for those of you who have any questions, or if you want to kind of go over an update, or if you just want to jump on and kind of introduce yourself and kind of have a little back and forth, if you can just raise your hand, and the way to raise your hand is at the bottom of the screen. So if you're on your phone, if you just tap your screen, you'll see kind of like a few icons pop up at the bottom. If you're on your laptop, you should just kind of see it anyway. At the bottom, you'll see a button that says reactions. And if you press reactions and then press raise hand, I'll be able to see who wants to jump on, who wants to have a chat, and I can see it in order who raised their hand first, right? So it allows me to kind of go around and be fair to everyone. So that's for those of you who have any questions. If you don't want to actually jump on the call and talk, right, but you do have questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. I will also come back and kind of answer your questions there as well, right? I can't see anyone raising their hands. Anybody at all? Any questions? Any questions at all from anyone? No? Okay. Is anyone open to jumping on and just kind of allowing me to kind of run through your roadmap with you? Don't worry, I'm not going to put you on the hot seat too much. It's just going to help you more than anything. Just to kind of give you an idea, a bit of guidance. And also, when we do that, that might spark some questions, right? You just off the back of that activity, you might all of a sudden have a few things that you want to ask or that you're unsure about. So is there anyone that's up for that? If there is, can you raise your hand? Anyone at all? If not, it's fine. I'll just kind of go through the process on the whiteboard, and then you can kind of, again, that might spark some questions. But if anyone's open to it, we've got Linda on the call, Stephen, Hugh, and Bibek. If any of you are open to jumping on and just going through a little roadmap with me, that would be great. Okay, Linda said question. All right, brilliant. So Linda's got a question. My strategy is focusing on rent to SA houses. What are the differences with deal sourcing for flats, i.e., lease issues, etc.? Okay, good question. Very good question. So, when you're dealing with houses, you're dealing with freehold properties, right? So, you don't have to worry about anything being prohibited on the lease because there is no lease, right? Whereas if you're dealing with flats, usually it's going to be a leasehold property. So, you need to make sure that there isn't anything prohibiting short term lets or corporate lets on the head lease. And that's literally the difference, right? In terms of what we need to check anyway. So you just need to make sure that if it's a leasehold property, you're checking, you're asking to see a copy, you're speaking with the landlord, just making sure that they've confirmed it for you, right? Now, that's not always straightforward. Sometimes a landlord has lost their lease or they, for whatever reason, they can't get hold of it straight away. So if that's the case, then I would always get something in writing. Never, ever just go off of a verbal conversation. Always try and get something in writing. So at least if there was an issue further on down the line, you can always refer back to that conversation. You've got it in black and white and, you know, and kind of go from there. But usually if somebody's going to put something like that in writing for you, it's going to be true. So you won't have an issue. So yeah, I hope that kind of answers your question. Okay, I didn't even see the next part of your question, Linda, but I hope that follow-on answered that. Okay, no problem. Linda, are you open to jumping on and doing a quick roadmap? I don't know if you can speak, if you're available to jump on and speak. Okay, no worries, no problem at all. Okay, all right. So what we're gonna do, and that was a good question, by the way, Linda. So
yeah,
I hope that was helpful. I can see there's a few. Sorry, someone's speaking. I can't see who it is. Who is that? Who's speaking? I can't see. Oh, Bibek. Hi, Bibek.
Yeah, just one question. Like, how do you qualify your investors?
How do we qualify the investors?
Yeah, yes, please.
Yeah, like, so there's a set of questions. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. So you just basically, how do we confirm that the investor's serious and they're actually able to move forward if we present a deal to them that fits, right? That's pretty much what you're asking.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, so we have the way that we do it. I imagine everybody's got kind of different ways that they do it, but the way that we do it is we have a set of questions that we go through when we're speaking to the investor. And pretty much those questions are just doing exactly what you just asked, right? It's just qualifying them. So it's making sure that they have the funds to move forward if we present a deal that fits. It's finding out a bit more about their experience, how many units they've already got. It's getting an idea of if we need to move forward very quickly, are they in a position to do that? Or are they only able to take a deal on in a couple of months' time or whenever it is, right? Not that that's an issue, but again, this helps us kind of qualify who we're going to add to the list, who we want to start presenting deals to very quickly, etc. So yeah, there's kind of a list of questions. Those questions I will put in the group. I'll put some of those questions in the group rather than just kind of saying it on here, because especially as you're driving, I'll put a list of those questions in the group. And I always say to the guys, add questions to that if you want as well. You know, at the end of the day, as much as I'm giving you the template, you want to make sure that you've got peace of mind on the people that you're dealing with as well. You've kind of got to be a judge of that character when you speak to them. So you can kind of go through the questions that I give you, the points to touch on, but also if there's other things that you would like to see to give you peace of mind, chuck that in there as well. Yeah, but it's very straightforward. Qualifying investors, honestly, especially because we're dealing with rent to rent. So something to keep in mind is, you know, there's no purchase involved, right? So we're not dealing with deals where someone has to spend hundreds of thousands, right? Being honest, you know, people are spending probably, you know, 7K, you know, 5 to 7K, maybe max, if that. In some deals, they're spending way less. So it's not a huge amount of money that's being put into these deals. So you don't have to be as strict in terms of how you qualify them, right? But of course, you definitely want to ask the right questions just to make sure. That makes sense, Bibek? Yeah. So just keep an eye out in the group for more of the resources that I'm going to put in there, like that. For example, you know, the qualifying questions, also qualifying questions for co-sources as well, which I think is very important because there are a lot of co-sources out there that will be really valuable for you you know, if you work with them, but you want to be able to identify which ones are the good ones and which ones aren't so good. And I kind of give sort of a checklist, so to speak, that you can run through when you're speaking to co-sources, just to make sure that, you know, again, they're the right people to be working with. So just keep an eye out on the group, and you'll see more and more information come out over time. Also, of course, in the actual program group, all of this information is just readily available there, and we're constantly updating it. You know, if anything changes, if anything new happens, if we kind of update a method, for example, it's all in that group as well. So you kind of have the choice between the two. But either way, just keep an eye out, and you'll see more and more information get put into the group. Okay, mate?
Yes, thank you.
Good. Okay. Bibek, whilst I've got you here, I don't know if you're okay having a quick chat whilst I've got you here, whilst you're driving. Are you okay having a quick chat?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, good. Okay. Question, just a quick question. As I said, I wanted to kind of run through sort of a roadmap with one or two of you, right? Nobody else put their hands up. So I've kind of put you in the hot seat, so I hope you don't mind. Talk to me a little bit about your situation. So, like, if I know you can't look at the screen because you're driving, but on the whiteboard I've got up, you know, the 6 foundations that I broke down in that video. Did you watch that video, the 6 foundations one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I've kind of got that up in the background. Walk me through where you are in terms of that process, or have you not started yet, or have you started, and kind of like where are you so far? And then I want to just kind of give you some guidance on what I think you should be doing moving forward.
I've already going into like I've already done rent-to-rent groups. Can you hear
So
me?
you cut out. Say that again, Bibek.
So I have joined like so many rent-to-rent groups.
Okay,
First,
good. How many? How many? Not to interrupt. How many groups would you say you've joined roughly?
I think like more than 7-8 groups.
Sorry, I missed that. More than
7-8 groups.
7?
7 to 8 groups.
7 to 8.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's okay. So that's good, right? So first thing, already, again, you're driving, so you can't see what I'm pointing at. But on the screen, when I talk about the first foundation, it's the Facebook groups, right? Because we need to be in as many of those groups as possible. That's where everyone is. That's where the agents are, the co-sources are, the investors are. That's where everyone's hanging out that we need to be in contact with and working with in our business. So it just makes sense to be in all of those groups, right? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So on the screen, I mentioned about me, for example, being in over 100 rent-to-rent groups, right? So you're in 7 or 8. We need to get you in more. I'm not saying you have to be in 100 like me. That's just because I've been doing it for so long. But we want to at least get you in more groups because it allows you to leverage the data that's in that group, as you've probably heard me talk about on this video that I made, right? So that's the first thing. So, okay, you're in 7 or 8 groups, which is good. So you've started, which is amazing. So you know what you need to do moving forward. You definitely need to join more groups, right? And are you clear on how to join more groups? How to find more?
So like just go to the Facebook like rent-to-rent in the search bar, and then it will bring like 10 groups.
Yeah, so just the different phrases. So like you said, rent to rent, hit enter, then it's going to bring up all those groups. And then when you've gone through and you feel like you've joined all of those ones, go back to the search box and just put in the next phrase, rent to SA or rent to rent, or whichever ones you want to put in one by one, and just go through and join. And you'll notice that there's loads of them. There are loads. Of course, there's a handful of really big groups that have like the 20, 30,000s, but like I'm always saying to the guys, even in the small groups, there are some really serious investors lurking around. So it's worth joining them, you know? Okay. And then, so that's that part. So you've joined the groups. Have you done anything else since that? Have you picked your areas?
Yeah. So now like what we are doing is like I have done training with the other groups as well, like, and then like they are finding the like some deals, and then I'm finding the deals in different areas. So that is what I'm doing, like not the specific areas, what I do in the different areas. That is what I'm doing right now.
Okay, so you're saying that what you're doing at the moment is you're just finding deals right now. You're trying to find deals.
Yeah, in different areas, not on the specific location.
Okay, so all right, so let's unpack that, right? So how you getting on so far with finding deals in the way you're doing it? How are you getting on so far?
I'm finding like quite deals from countries, and then I just pass it to my training academy, and then they will just do the deal for me. And then yes, not a lot, but like 5 or 6 deals, and then I just pass it to them.
Okay, and then what happens? They buy the deal from you, or they sell it on for you? Like, what happens when you pass them a deal?
Yeah, so like they will push it in the platform, and then like, but like I haven't sold any, but like that is the thing. Like we just pass it to the platform, and then if someone is like serious, then they may buy. But like I haven't sold anyone. Like
You haven't sold any. How long have you been on that program? Just out of interest.
just 1 month, 1 or 2 months.
1 or 2 months. Okay. So in terms of the areas, or sorry, not in terms of the areas, in terms of the foundations, right? That I speak
Yeah,
about. You remember from the video, I speak about the fact that usually the reason why a deal sourcer is struggling to sell a deal is because they've either missed one of the foundations, they've missed
yeah,
some of the foundations, or they don't have any of the foundations, right? You at least already have 1 or 2 of
yeah,
them. So you're in some of the groups. You definitely need to be in more groups, but you're in some. But you're also already trying to find deals. So you kind of, I don't know how much. Let's just kind of rewind a little bit. When you say you're trying to find deals, you mentioned Gumtree, so you're reaching out to landlords directly, yeah?
yeah.
Yeah, and are you speaking to agents as well?
Yeah, so I speak with agent as well. What agent like doesn't give the deal? That's the thing.
Okay, so you haven't got any, so there's no one in your agent network yet. How about co-sources? Are you getting deals from co-sources as well?
Yeah, yeah. So your main trainees?
Yeah, you're cutting out. Guys, just let me know in the chat. Is Bibek only cutting out for me, or is he cutting out for everyone else? I just want to make sure it's not just my side. So let me know in the chat, guys. It's cutting out for you as well. Okay, Bibek, I think it's something on your side. I'm not too sure what's happening, but it just keeps cutting out. So I missed what you just said. Can you just say it again?
Yeah, so I'm like a co-sourcing with other sources right now, and getting
Okay. Okay, good. Okay.
like one or two deals.
Okay. All right. So we definitely I can tell you already straight away that we need to refer back to let me get this back up. We need to refer back to the foundations. I'm telling you, Bibek, what you're doing now, the way you're approaching it, it's going to take you a long time to gain momentum. And not only that, you don't have any control over these deals that you're securing, right? So you're securing these deals and then you're passing them to someone else, and that person's not even selling them for you, right? It's been 2 months, they're not selling them. So we need to revert back to this. So what's missing, right? So first things first, you've got the Facebook groups. Definitely need to get you in more, right? We've discussed that already. The reason why they're free, right? There's thousands of members, all interested specifically in rent-to-rent deals. So they're perfect for us. And there's new opportunities in these groups every single day. So there's no excuse. Honestly, there's no excuse for us to not find investors, agents, sources, because even if we just use these Facebook groups, there's so many opportunities for us. Forget even going back years and years, because some of these groups literally go back years, right? So there's a lot of data that goes back quite far. But even if we just spoke about the new posts that are put in these groups every day and the comments that are left on those posts by investors, the people that have posted them, co-sources, etc., that's really valuable for us. So we've got to be making use of that. In terms of the areas, this is where I think you might be falling short as well, because you're trying to just do a deal anywhere, and what happens is there's no focus, right? So you're not able to dominate an area because you're not focusing on an area, right? Can you hear me, Bibek? You can still hear me? Bibek, can you hear me?
Sorry, like the signal was weak and I couldn't hear you. Sorry
Okay.
for that.
No worries, no worries. So what I was saying was, in terms of your foundations, definitely need to pick an area. Either pick 1 to 3 areas, right? Have you
Yeah,
got
okay.
areas in mind? Is there any areas that you've noticed from you trying to find deals, for example, or you just speaking to people, that seems to have more demand in it than others that you would be interested in covering? Have you got any in mind?
Yeah, one is Southampton, and another is the London, and the next one is Birmingham.
Good areas. They are very good areas, right? And again, if you use the steps that I've given you guys, right, in terms of going into the groups and actually looking at those areas individually, right? It's a very quick exercise. Honestly, you can literally just go into the groups, type Southampton, right? That's the first area you mentioned. Type Southampton, hit enter, and you're going to be able to see, Bibek, for yourself whether, firstly, is there a lot of deals that's been posted there? Okay, and if there are, when they're posted, is there demand? Is there engagement? Are people commenting? Are people interested? Are they asking for more information? If you can't see that there's any sort of demand, then there's no point you covering those areas, right? But it's good to just have a look just to see firsthand. I already know that those 3 areas have a lot of demand just from the amount of deals we've done and the amount of people we work with, right? But just in terms of 1 second, guys, I don't know what's happened there. Just in terms of picking your areas, you always want to just have a look, right? Oh, guys, one of you are on the screen. I need to get you off 1 sec. Okay. Right. So yeah, we just need you to have a look, Bibek, and just make sure that you're comfortable with covering those areas. Yeah.
Okay.
So those are 3 good areas. So now let's just say those are your 3 areas that you're going to cover specifically. So you're no longer looking at areas outside of those 3 areas. Do you see what I mean? So you want to try and dominate
okay.
those areas. So if a deal comes your way in Manchester or in whatever area outside of that area, you're not going to be as interested as if there are deals coming your way in your 3 areas, in your patches, right? Because otherwise you're going to run around like a headless chicken. You need to have some focus. So we need to focus on those 3 areas. You happy with that, Bibek?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So that's the areas, right? So part 3. How many investors do you have currently? Qualified investors.
So I only have got like 2 or 3 investors because like so as you have said, yeah, and then like I have went to the rent to rent sites, and then like just like who had commented on all those deals, I have just like messaged them,
Yeah.
and then only the few investors are lined up.
How many investors have you messaged roughly?
So I've messaged more than I think 40 or 50.
Okay. So again, and this is why I like to do this exercise, right? Because I can help you. 40 or 50 is nowhere near enough investors for you to have reached out to, right? You're barely scratching the surface. I'll put it into context for you. In our group, our program group, the guys, when they're doing their investor challenge, i.e., building their investor list, they're messaging 50 investors per day. Right? Bibek, can you still hear me? Bibek's reception seems to be quite bad, guys. So just bear with us. Bibek, can you hear me? Okay, when he gets back, we'll carry on. You guys can still hear me, okay? Let me know in the chat. You can still hear me. Okay, perfect. All right. When Bibek comes back, we'll continue with him. But just to kind of follow on from his situation, right? Because it is a good example. You guys heard. So he is in a few Facebook groups, right? He needs to join more. We've just picked 3 areas for him to focus on. Prior to this, he's been trying to do a deal anywhere. And as you've heard, because of that, he's been getting deals, sending them to, I didn't really hear who he said he's sending it to, but he's sending it to someone in hopes that they can sell it, but they're not selling it, right? He's only got a few investors on his list, and he's only managed to speak to about 40 to 50 new investors, right? So I always say that those foundations, they paint like a very clear picture for you. Like I said, like I could literally go through each of you guys on the call. Doesn't matter what part of the process you're at. I could speak to each and every one of you and use this foundations process, this roadmap, so to speak, as a reference point, and you would be able to see for yourself actually clearly what's missing and what needs to be done, right? So for Bibek, I think it's quite clear, and hopefully you guys could kind of see the direction I'm trying to go in, and what I'm saying needs to be done and why it needs to be done, right? So because the last thing we want is for Bibek to spend his time trying to find deals if he can't sell them. So to make this process easier for Bibek, what he needs to do is, first things first, well, now he's done it. He's picked the 3 areas. So we've got the 3 areas. For those of you who haven't picked your 3 areas, by the way, as I just said to Bibek, if you have areas in mind that you've been thinking about covering, then the easiest way to figure out whether you should actually cover them is to just go into the groups, right? Go into each of the groups or go into the bigger groups where there's a lot of data and just type those areas in one by one. And you'll be able to see for yourself. So if Bibek goes and types in Birmingham in one of those groups and hits enter, he's going to see all the Birmingham rent-to-rent deals that have been posted. And he's going to see firsthand, clear as day, that most of those deals get a lot of interest. There's a lot of demand. People like Birmingham, right? For whatever reasons. Same thing for the other areas he's picked. So you just want to get that part done and get it out of the way. Also, he needs to be able to sell these deals when he gets them. And I always say to everyone that the backbone of a deal sourcing business is your investor list. And pretty much every deal sourcer gets it wrong from what I can see, right? Because everybody focuses on the deals. But it's funny because I was just speaking to one of the guys earlier on today about this. I've probably said it a million times, but I was just kind of going over it again. And I was just reminding them that, look, you can get a deal today, secure a deal today. If you're not able to proceed with that deal within the next 7 to 10 days, let's say, for example, that landlord is going to change their mind. I can tell you that from now without even having to speak to the landlord myself. They are going to change their mind. If there's no activity, if there's no viewings happening, if they can't see that something's going on, they're going to start to lose patience. And usually what's going to happen is they're going to decide that they don't want to do it anymore. Or what happens in a lot of cases is a traditional tenant comes along and makes an offer, and the landlord just decides, well, this person who's speaking about this whole company let, corporate let, company renting it from me situation isn't moving forward quicker enough. I'm not getting enough information. I don't know what's happening. Let me just go down the traditional route that I planned to go down in the first place, right? So that's what you usually find. So to avoid that, it makes much more sense to have your investor list built up front. Have that built first, because you only end up struggling and rushing to try and find investors when you're securing deals anyway. So if you've already got the list built and it's qualified, it's 10 times easier to sell a deal, right? You guys are in the group now, so you've seen in the win section. If you haven't seen the win section in the free group, guys, please go and have a look at it. This is for you. It's not for me. It's for you guys. It's for motivational purposes only. And honestly, you're going to see firsthand how people are like, let's just use like really recent examples. Just last week, we had Nana in our group who sold a deal the week before. She was on one of our group calls on the Monday, told us that she secured the deal using the steps, got it from her network, got it out to her list. And by our next Monday call, she had already sold the deal, paperwork had gone back and forth, etc., 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 and she was paid on the Tuesday. So literally within like 8 days, right? 8 or 9 days, she was paid for a deal that she sold. She would not have been able to do that if she didn't have that list, right? Unless you got lucky. And that's the thing. A lot of deal sources are depending on luck, right? So they'll post that deal in the groups, and then they'll hope that a serious investor will stumble across it and buy the deal. But what happens usually is you have to go through a lot of tire kickers, a lot of time wasters, and you struggle to sell those deals. And as I mentioned to you guys, the landlords get impatient, the agents get impatient, you lose the deals, right? Whereas the investors are going to stick around forever. So these investors that you are finding in these free Facebook groups, the way I'm showing you, and adding to your list, they're not just going to buy one deal from you and never again. You know, as you guys start to connect with other sources from my group who are at the stage where they're selling deals or have been selling deals, they'll tell you, you know, some of them have sold deals to some of the same investors over and over again, right? So it is very valuable. They will sit on your list. For example, you could add an investor to your list today, and if you don't send him a deal for 6 months, let's say, right, just being dramatic, you're not going to do that, but let's just say you didn't send him a deal for 6 months, you could literally give him a call in 6 months, and he's still probably going to be looking for a deal, and he'll be happy for you to send him a deal. So there's a big difference between the value of the investors on your list and the landlords, the deals, right? And that's where a lot of deal sources get it wrong. So if you just go back to Bibek, can you hear me okay, Bibek? You back now? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. All right. So if we just go back to your scenario, right? You are securing deals. So I would imagine you know how to secure deals, or you've got an idea how to secure deals. You need to be able to sell those deals quickly because you'll lose them. As you probably have, you experienced losing any deals yet where like the landlords changed their mind or someone else is taking the deal's just falling out of bed? Have you experienced that? Yeah. So exactly. So the whole point is we want to avoid that. We want to, when we secure a deal, we want to be able to send as much traffic to that deal as possible straight away, generate interest really, really quickly, right? And the only way you're able to do that is if you can send the deal directly to your investors and then follow up with them, which is something we'll discuss further on down the line, right? But that's the thing that I think you're missing, Bibek. We need you to get your investor list right. You've got 3 or 4, so that's good. Let's aim to try and get 10 in each area. As you get closer to 10, then start testing out the list, but aim to get at least 10 qualified investors, by the way. So you've got them on a phone call, you've asked the questions, you've introduced yourself to each other. You've, like I said earlier, you've been a judge of character, and now you're clear that, okay, if I get a deal that fits this person's criteria, they're going to buy it from me and they're going to pay me that 3K. Yeah. So that's the piece of the puzzle that you're missing right now. Yeah. Are you clear on what to do in terms of reaching out, you know, what to say when they come back to you, etc.?
Yeah, so the one is the proof of fund.
That's you're talking about you're talking about the questions you're asking when you're qualifying them, which is good. But I'm asking about, so when you send them the initial message, so let's say you message me, hi Gary, I've seen, you know, that you expressed interest in a rent-to-rent deal in Southampton. That's one of your areas. Are you still looking for deals like that at the moment? And then I came back to you and said, hey, Bibek, yeah, actually, I am still looking. You're clear on what to do from there? Do you know what to do from there?
So ask what are you specifically looking for, like 2 beds, 3 beds?
Right. So, okay, good. So I want to help you with this. So you don't want to have that conversation in the inbox with them when they respond, right? You want to try and get them on the phone call as soon as possible. Try and get them away from the platform as soon as possible. So if I've come back and I've said, yes, I'm still interested, I'm still looking, ideally you want to get me on a phone call whenever you're available, you know? So for example, if I sent you a message reaching out because I saw that you expressed interest in a deal in the areas that I'm covering, and you came back and said, yes, Gary, I'm still looking, I would come straight back to you. Hey, Bibek, thanks for coming back to me. Appreciate that. Really good to see that you're still looking for rent-to-rent deals in that area. I'm covering the area right now, so I'm going to have a lot of deals coming in. When are you free to jump on a quick call so I can walk you through how I can help you? Right? That's what I'm doing. So straight away, I'm trying to get them on a phone call. I don't want to waste time kind of like going back and forth in the inbox, because what you're dealing with here is human psychology, and you're going to find it way easier to build rapport, trust, a relationship, familiarity, etc., etc., etc. All the positives, you're going to find it way easier to get there if you speak to them on the phone. If they get to hear your voice, you get to hear their voice. You guys get to really kind of have an actual human interaction rather than just a messaging conversation back and forth. Because as we know, sometimes when you have a kind of a messaging conversation, it can be you message me, I don't message you back for 3 days. You know, you message me a day later, and then before we know it, we've lost a week, we've lost 2 weeks. It's better to just look, let's get you on a call as soon as possible, find out what I need to find out, make sure that you're comfortable working with me, get you on the list, on to the next one really quickly. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I'm going to work with you on that. So don't worry if you're not sure how to approach it, that's something that we'll be working on. So just, of course, keep an eye on the group. Yeah. So okay. So just again, quick rewind. Facebook groups, you're in a few. We need to join more. So you're making notes, right? I think I see you writing. You're making notes?
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. So Facebook groups, you need to join more. Areas, you've picked your 3 areas now. Those are your areas moving forward. Yeah. Like I said, just for your own peace of mind, it's worth just going into the groups that you've joined already. And as you're joining more groups, because you're going to be doing that anyway, and just have a quick look at your area, check out your area, see what's going on, see, you know, when the last deal was posted, is it getting interest, etc., etc. Just have a quick look just to see that demand, like I said, firsthand. So areas is all good. Free investor list, that's where you need to put a lot of your time now. If you do it properly, that list will build very quickly. You know, people struggle to be consistent, Bibek, and that's usually what the main issue is, right? If you just go for it, we know this works, you know this works by the amount of examples of other people that are doing it. So just tunnel vision, shoot out those messages every day. Quick tip for yourself and everyone that's on the call: when you are sending the messages out to the investors, be careful with getting blocked by Facebook. Facebook's got a little bit more strict with the amount of messages you can send out if you've got a new page, or if they're not used to your page having a lot of activity, right? So rather than shooting out those 50 messages all in one go, it makes sense to send maybe 25 in the morning, 25 in the evening, and then Facebook's a lot easier on you, right? You don't get as many issues. So for example, my page, because I've been sending so many messages for so many years, I can, you know, my VA sends all the messages in my inbox, and they're sending like 80, 90 messages a day and we're never blocked, right? But that's because we're constantly active. We send a lot of messages. We've been sending a lot of messages. So over time, Facebook will get used to your page, right? So Bibek, just break it up throughout the day.
Yeah.
Do you think you're in a position to start doing that tomorrow out of interest?
Yeah. So like,
Yeah.
so now, from the few weeks, like I've been like consistent, like just passing the message to like passing the message on the comment to the investors, like calling all those landlords and the estate agents.
Yeah. Well, look,
But
let's rein it back and just put some structure in place. Because, like I said, that's the reason why you haven't managed to sell any deals yet. Just being completely honest, it's because you haven't got the structure in place, and the things that you are doing, the activities that you are doing, you're doing them in the wrong order. Like, for example, like I said, you're focusing on securing deals, which is good to have that skill, good to have the confidence to do it, but you have no one to sell it to. So what happens is you're securing all these deals and none are selling. We want to change that. We already know you're confident with getting these deals now, so we can put that on pause for a second and let's go back to setting up the foundation of your investor list, because that's going to make the next part a lot easier. So when you do go back to getting deals, we're going to be saying, Bibek, let's send that deal out to that 10, 15, 20 investors that you qualified that are on your list. And out of that list, the conversations we're going to have, we're going to generate interest 100%, right? Because we're going to approach it a certain way. So that's what I want you to focus on. I won't even speak about 4, 5, and 6 yet, because I don't want to kind of, you know, distract you, right? This is where your focus needs to be. It's like 1, 2, and 3. You've already kind of got 1 and 2 in place. 3 is where we need to be. Let's get this right, and then very quickly move on to 4. And then I think from there, everything will be a lot easier for you, mate. Okay?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Yeah? Everything I'm saying makes sense? Is there anything Yeah. Anything you're unsure about that I've said at all that I can go into more detail about, or you're okay? You get it. You know
No,
what you
no,
need to
no.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. Perfect. Any other questions outside of that at all? No. I think we might have lost Bibek.
No,
Have we
no,
lost
no.
him? Okay.
No,
When
no,
he
no,
comes
no.
back, we'll. Oh, there you
No,
are.
no,
No, no other questions. Okay. No worries,
no,
Bibek.
no. Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks for jumping on. Okay, appreciate it. And like I said, it was good to kind of go through your roadmap. It's clear as day what you need to do. Let's work on that. Keep me posted. Talk to me every day. Communicate with me, and I will help you. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. All right, top man. Okay. So that was Bibek. Okay, there's a lot more of you on the call now. So thanks for joining, guys. For those of you that have joined late, let me kind of go back to the beginning just to make it clear exactly what we're doing. So you've just kind of probably stumbled and kind of into the call and heard some of the call, the conversation I was just having with Bibek. So basically, Bibek was just telling me where he was in the process. He's already started deal sourcing before he joined the free group. So he's already trying to do deals. But as we kind of sat down and went through these foundations, which I would hope that everyone that's on the call has watched the video that I made about these foundations, the 6 foundations. When I just sat down and went through them with Bibek, we could clearly see what was missing, what needs to be changed, what needs to be tweaked, right? So it's really, really good to have a visual of that. Rather than me just kind of saying it to you, which I could just sit down and do all day, it's good to literally go through. It's good to literally go through, guys. Somebody is changing the screen again. 1 second, let me get this off. 1 sec. Yeah, it's good to just kind of go through it step by step, right? So, okay, there's more of you on the call. So what I asked was anyone who has any questions or wants to jump on and is open to jumping on and going through an update, please can you just raise your hand? And then I can see in order who wants to have a chat. So to raise your hand, if you just tap your screen if you're on your phone or move your mouse around if you're on the laptop or computer, you'll see at the bottom of the screen, there's a button that says reactions. If you press reactions, it will say raise hand. Press raise hand, and then I can see who wants to chat. And I can, rather than putting you all on the hot seat, we can kind of go round in order. Okay. Whoever it is that is accidentally changing the screen, please stop. It's my fault. I'm pretty sure when I started the call, I took off the option for you guys to be able to edit this, but obviously I didn't because I can see that somebody is moving it around by accident. So please, if you notice that it's you, just stop and then I can kind of take back control. But in the meantime, anybody else who has any questions, if there's not anyone who has a specific questions, is there anybody who's open to jumping on just like Bibek did and just allowing me to kind of go through your roadmap with you on this call so that when you end this call, you'll be clear on exactly what you need to do moving forward, right? Bibek knows exactly what he needs to do now. I'm pretty sure we'll kind of catch up again on the next call and see what progress he's made and probably speak in between that. But just off of us referring back to the guidelines, the foundations, the timeline, it's clear as day what he needs to do to move forward, right? He's securing deals. So it's not that he's not finding deals, he's securing deals. But if you're securing deals and there's no one to buy it, there's a problem, right? So we know exactly what we need to do. So is there anyone else at all? Stephen, hey Stephen. Take yourself
Yeah,
off mute,
Gary,
bud.
hi. Can you hear me okay
Hey,
now?
how's it going, mate? You okay?
Yeah, I'm not too bad.
How
Not
are
too
you?
bad.
You okay?
Yeah,
Good, good, good,
can't complain.
good.
Just the
Good,
usual
good.
kind of HMO drama. But actually,
What
hang
kind
on
of
a second.
dramas?
No, I've got a leak in one of my houses.
Okay, that kind of drama.
Actually,
Okay, landlord dramas. I know what you mean.
yeah. Okay,
Okay,
I've got my plumber
okay.
calling me. I'll be back on. Just give me a minute.
Okay, you're gonna come back on
All right.
after, yeah? Okay,
Yeah,
no problem.
yeah.
No worries.
All right.
No problem. No problem. Okay, anybody else who wants to have a chat at all? A question actually that might help and might kind of again spark some questions is has everybody and just
Hi,
let me know
Jamie.
in the chat.
Hi.
Just everyone just let me know in the chat. Have you joined more than, let's say, 10 Facebook groups? Just let me know in the chat. Since joining this free group, my free group, and kind of going through the videos and the steps that I've given you, has everybody joined more than 10 rent-to-rent Facebook groups? Just let me know in the chat. Just say yes if you have. Tracy has, brilliant. Lisa has, brilliant. Linda has, brilliant. Has everybody else joined at least 10? At Windows 10 Pro, I can't see what your name is, so I apologize that I can't address you by your name. But Windows 10 Pro says yes. Andrew says yes. Okay, perfect. That's what I want to see, right? So similar to Bibek. Bibek's in about 7 or 8 groups. I was putting it into context for him. I'm in over 100 rent-to-rent groups, guys. Right? So again, right, when you refer back to the foundations and this timeline, it puts into perspective what you're missing, where you're going wrong. Not even necessarily, I don't even want to say going wrong, right? But just the things that you need to tweak, the things you need to add, right? To make this work, to put these pieces of the puzzle together. So straight away, if you're in 10 groups, that's good. That's a good amount of groups, especially if you're in the right ones, right? The bigger groups where there's a lot of data. But I would also urge you to join more groups, guys. Try and join more groups. For those of you who joined the call late, I'll just kind of run through again very quickly what you need to do to join more groups. As I was saying to Bibek, just go into the Facebook group section on Facebook, type in the different phrases associated to rent. So of course, rent to rent first, and then rent to rent, and rent R2SA, R2R, etc. Do them one by one. That's going to bring up all the different groups. Join those groups, right? Get into as many of those groups as possible. Okay, next question. Has everybody in here picked their 3 areas, 1 to 3 areas? Give me a yes in the chat if you've picked your 3 areas now. You're clearing your 3 areas. And in fact, let me know your 3 areas too. Pop them in the chat. Let me know which areas you've picked. Bibek has picked Southampton, London, and Birmingham, which are really good areas. You guys let me know what you've picked. Okay, Linda's on that step. Okay, Linda, are you clear on exactly what to do to pick your areas? Tracy's also on that step. Guys, let me know. Are you guys clear on what to do? If not, then I can very quickly run through what you need to do to pick your areas. Lisa has picked, let's see. Sorry, Lisa, it's gone back up. London, Manchester, Birmingham. Stephen's picked Manchester, London, Birmingham. Stephen, you're back. Jump back on if you can. You can come off mute.
All right, cool. All right, yeah, I'm back.
Hiya.
Yeah, so that's him. That's
Okay,
been
cool.
sorted.
Let's.
But yeah,
Okay, no problem. Good. Everything okay?
yeah.
Everything
I
okay
need
with the
to
plumber
head.
and everything?
Yeah, I mean, he's been there before. He knows what he's doing, so he'll crack on. So that's all right.
Okay, good.
So,
Perfect. Okay, so what I'll do is we'll refer to you now rather than kind of everyone in a generic way. So I can see that you've picked your areas, which is good. You've picked Manchester, London, Birmingham. So again, similar to Bibek, very good areas. Question:
yeah.
Did you pick those areas just kind of because those are the areas you wanted to pick, or have you had a chance to actually look and see? I mean, we know there's demand in those areas, right? But just
Yeah.
so you can see for yourself what I mean, that look, there's engagement, there's actually investors literally saying, I'm interested, I want deals in this area. Have you had a chance to see that for those areas that you've picked?
I did that. I mean, I did that for Manchester. I did that for Birmingham. But yeah, and London. I just thought, you know what, you can't really go wrong with London.
You can't go wrong with London, can you, to be honest? Okay, yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Okay, good. So, okay, good. And are you, how many groups would you say you're in, Stephen, as well, roughly?
A lot. I haven't even. I'm not even count. I've counted, but I know there are quite a number of them. So I'm sure there's probably over 50 of them. 50,
About
60 of
50?
them.
Okay, that's good.
50, 60. I mean,
Rent to
I'm
rent,
certain.
rent to rent
Yeah,
specifically.
yeah. So I've got so rent. Actually, yeah. So rent to rent, and I've got other groups, but specifically rent to rent. Yeah, at least about 50 odd.
Good,
I'm
good,
sure.
good, good.
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's
So,
good. That's good to hear. Okay, and then all right. So next part, how is your? Have you started building your investor list?
uh, that's the bit. That's where I'm stuck. I'm not where I'm stuck, but what I need to actually focus on. It's that investor list bit.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I mean, so yeah, so I mean that's a bit because previously, yes, I mean I've sorted deals before, but they haven't been rent to rent.
Okay.
So yeah, so I mean, so just basically people are looking to buy property. So I created a few on. I've traded a one rent to rent on, but it's not really something I've really focused on. And just
Right.
decided to actually, so just decided actually to kind of start looking at that now.
Right.
Yeah, so hence, yeah, for me to build my investor list, because it's exactly what you're saying, where yes, finding the deals is not a problem, but who to sell them onto is a problem.
Exactly. Yeah. 100%.
Mm.
Out of interest, what was
Mm.
those the other deals that the deals you've sold? What type of deals were those? Like BMVs or were they BRR? What kind of deals were they?
No, it was a BMV. It was a BMV property that I sold. Sold that one. Actually,
Yeah.
I sold one rent to rent.
Okay.
But yeah, but that was about it, because I really haven't focused a lot on sourcing side of things. So
Yeah.
because a lot of the things, anything interesting that I find, I'm thinking, oh, actually, how can I keep that?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think it's
uh,
good to, I think it's good to have, if you're in that situation where you're in that position, sorry, where you can look at it like that, it's great to be able to look at these deals, especially if the area that you're gonna build your deal sourcing business in is the exact same area that you're building your own portfolio in. Then every lead that comes in, you're literally kind of like, do I keep this one, or if I don't keep it, I can sell it on, because I've built a list here as well. So you're
yeah,
absolutely right. It's a good position to be in, definitely.
yeah. But now, really, just
Yeah.
want to focus on selling rent to rent deals, and really just for the capital to be able to do other things.
Yeah.
So that's
Okay.
it.
Okay. So similar to Bibek, that's where you are in the process, right? And
Yeah,
like I said
yeah.
to Bibek, I don't want to. Of course, we're gonna discuss, point 4, 5, and 6, and go into more detail about those as we move on. But for now, I just really want you to focus on this investor list. Are you comfortable with sending voice notes?
I'm learning. So, but yeah, but I mean, I'm okay with it. I mean, I'm learning, but it felt I mean, not uncomfortable, but a bit weird initially, because I'm not used to that. Normally, yeah, I'm not used to that. Normally, just send
Yeah.
you messages and things like that. But like it's yeah, you've got to be on the phone, don't you? So that's the bottom
Yeah.
line.
That's it. And
So
honestly, you will be so surprised
yeah,
how much better people receive your message when you do it that way. That's another thing as well as the open rate's better, just because people are intrigued to open the message and listen when there's a voice note over just reading it. But honestly, because as you probably heard me say in the video, people are so skeptical of everyone online now. Like, everyone's skeptical. I'm skeptical. Everyone's skeptical, right? You just don't know who's genuine, who's not. But one thing that helps is if somehow there's like a human touch. And of course, the easiest way to do that online is for them to hear my voice. Other than seeing me, like literally seeing me in a video call, for example, the next best thing is hear my voice. Because then okay, oh, this is a real person. This isn't just a bot that, someone's set up online and is just firing out messages, or this isn't a VA reaching out, for example. Not that that's a problem, because that's another angle as well that you definitely need to go down when you're scaling. But at least at first, when you're building your investor list, at least I think it's good to have that personal touch, because it helps. It really helps, and people really respond well to it. So if you're comfortable with that, I mean, even if you're not comfortable with it, Stephen, I would push you. Step outside your comfort zone. You know how it goes, right? Nothing great happens in our comfort zone. We have to step out of it for things to change and for better things to happen. So I'm telling you, you will definitely thank yourself for doing it. So just give it a go. And my tip to you would be, go into it knowing that the first 1 or 2 calls are going to be shaky. They're not going to be great. They're not just or the first 1 or 2 voice notes, sorry, are not going to be great, but that's normal. The more you do, the more confident you're going to get, the better it's going to come across, etc., etc. It's just a process, right? Just keep firing them out, and you'll eventually start to master it. I wouldn't even say eventually, very quickly. If you're doing it, you will very, very quickly realize, okay, this is straightforward. I can do this, so that's what I would focus on for now, Stephen.
I definitely will do that and try and stay out of Facebook jail.
You're in Facebook jail right now?
No, I'm saying I'll focus on that and try and stay out of Facebook jail.
Oh, okay. Yes, exactly. Definitely. And look, did you hear my tip about splitting it up throughout the day?
It's yeah.
Yeah, try and split it up, because I'll be honest with you, Facebook wasn't like this before. It was it was so much more lenient. You could like send a brand new page could send 50 to 100 messages and you wouldn't get blocked. But now it's not like that at all. They're trying to, which is it's obviously because they're trying to cut out the spam and the scam accounts and etc. etc. So it's fair enough. But yeah, if you do it that way over time, the algorithm will just get used to your page anyway, and it will see that, okay, this is a page that just sends a lot of messages anyway. We haven't got people flagging the messages that they're sending. You know, there's no one complaining about it. So evidently there's not a problem with the messages they're sending. And they'll just allow you. Like I said, my VA is in my DMs every day currently, responding to messages, but also sending new messages out to people. And he's sending like 80 plus messages, no problems at all. You know, sending me a report every day. So it's definitely doable. But yeah, just be a little bit careful at the beginning. Yeah.
So would you say like a target is just try and keep that target of about 50 a day?
Yeah,
You'll be
aim
able
for
to get
50.
your 10.
Yeah,
Get
if you
your
aim
10.
for 50 a day, you'll get to that 10 quick, very quick.
Yeah, clear. Because I've sent some out, and there were not that many anyway. Yeah, been having had a few. Yeah, I've had one or two responses, but really nothing that goes anywhere.
Yeah. How many would
So
you say you sent out roughly?
I don't, not even close. I think, well, not more than 10, I don't think. So
Yeah. So
way under, way under.
yeah, yeah.
But
So
yeah,
it's a numbers game, right?
yeah,
But with the way I'm showing you to do it, it doesn't feel like, okay, I'm having to send out hundreds of messages because you're breaking it down so much. And like literally, Stephen, my advice to everyone is make it easy on yourself, right? So you don't have to sit down in front of your laptop and make it feel like it's work. Like when I was building my investor list, and even when I'm just doing whatever I'm doing now on Facebook, in the evening, I might be chilling with my missus. I've got my phone. I can be on the Facebook app. If I was doing the investor challenge, I just go into the groups and I just one by one send out those messages. Or if I want to send voice notes, shoot those voice notes out. And I can get that done and dusted literally within like half an hour, you know, very quickly. And it just doesn't feel like work because it's very laid back and casual. And it doesn't matter what time of the day you send those messages. Those investors are going to open those messages when they're comfortable, right? So don't worry too much about responses, but also don't worry too much about when you're sending the messages. Do it when it suits you, when you're comfortable. Because I mean, you could be messaging them at midnight. It's not going to make a difference at all. If they're not someone who opens messages at midnight, they're not going to. They'll open it when they're available and when it suits them. So just focus on being tunnel vision, getting those messages out every day, 25 in the morning, which should, really, you should be able to do that very quickly, once you kind of find your feet and you're comfortable with it. And then another 25 in the evening and you'll be fine. Okay, guys?
I
Stephen,
appreciate that. Cheers. Appreciate
any
that.
other questions, Stephen? Anything else, anything you're unsure about or you had in your mind at all?
No, it's pretty much that, because I think with all the other bits I'm okay with, I'm comfortable with. It's not that I'm comfortable. It's just that the investor bit is, like you said,
You
it's
need
the
to
backbone of your business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
And again, like I said, we'll do sessions on building the investor list as well that will help. It's something that we do every week in the program group. So every Wednesday evening, we do live investor challenge calls together. So literally screen share, go through the group. So if you're uncomfortable with it, or even if you are comfortable in it and you just need a kind of a refresher, right? Which some people do, they join the calls just to kind of refresh their mind and just kind of, just get that fire back in them of knowing how to approach it and get it done very quickly. So that's something that will help you. But I'll also drop in a session every now and then in the free group as well to help with that. So okay, Stephen, that's really good. I'm glad. Again, I'm sure you're clear on exactly what to do moving forward, which is the main thing. So very good catching up. Thanks for jumping on. I appreciate your time, mate.
thanks for that.
Top man. Okay. Let me just go back through. I can't see any more people with their hands up, but I can see that there was maybe some questions that I had missed. So let me just scroll back up and make sure that I've got everyone's questions out of the way before we wrap it up. Okay, so Tracy said, how do we approach agents? Okay, it's a good question. First things first, what I would say, Tracy, is, as you probably just heard me say to Bibek and to Stephen, if you haven't got foundation 1, 2, and 3 in place, I wouldn't even worry about speaking to agents. No point at all, honestly. And I mean, like, you know, qualified list is built. You've got investors that are actually chasing you. They want deals, right? At least 10 in an area. You've got 3 areas that you're focusing on. You're not just trying to do a deal anywhere. You're in the Facebook group, so you're leveraging that data. Every time you log into Facebook, you can see a new investor to message or a deal that's been posted, that someone that you can reach out to. So if you haven't got those parts done yet, I wouldn't worry about agents just yet. But if you have, right, which might be why you're asking, our approach to agents is very direct, very, very direct. So some people like to go on like Rightmove or whatever site and find a property that an agent is advertising and then contact the agent about that property specifically. I don't do that. I don't like to do that. I like to call straight into the office. And if you've watched the video that I made with this actual presentation, for those of you who haven't watched it, please go and watch it. It's very, very good, very in detail. A lot of the questions you guys are asking, I cover on that video. So it tells me maybe you haven't watched it yet, or maybe you've missed that part. So when you get a chance, really take it in. But yeah, we like to go direct to agents. Go on Google, get all of the agents, especially the small independent kind of boutique agents in an area. So Birmingham, for example, and we just call every single one back to back. You know, it might set aside half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour if you've got time, and call as many of them as possible, and do that as often as you can, and strike relationships with them directly with the lettings manager or whoever deals with corporate lets in the office, and just kind of get ourselves in their good books, build that relationship. Just very direct, one phone call. It's funny because just today in the program group, one of our mentees, Majid, who is already selling deals, he's actually one of the guys that sold a block deal last month, made 5,500 in like 2 weeks, smashed it, selling deals, doing very well. But we were just speaking today in the group, and he just done like a call out session just to top up his agent network, and ended up with some agents that have given him properties, and they're open to working with him. And that's just from one call out session. You know, we do live call out sessions. We have a workshop we do every week. I host that session myself live, and we call agents and landlords directly live on the call and secure deals. Well, I wouldn't say secure deals, because securing a deal involves getting the paperwork signed, getting things agreed in writing. But in terms of getting the yes from the landlord, yes, I'm open to doing what it is you're proposing, and being happy to move forward with our clients if they're interested in taking it on. We get those every week on those calls. We done one with Nana just like 2 weeks ago. She ended up with like 2 deals, right? And actually ended up speaking with the freeholder of the building, who was advertising a property on Gumtree, right? And we just called directly. She followed the steps, followed the little script that I gave her, you know, what to touch on, objections, how to break down the benefits, and she's managed to get a deal from her, get a property from her. Also potentially going to get more properties in that building when they become available. So we just go direct, whether that's with landlords or agents. We don't beat around the bush. We just go direct. And that's something I work with you guys, you know, very, very closely. Like I said, we do it every week together. So I hope that answers your question, Tracy. Let's see if I missed any others. Linda said, what's a good number of investors to have on your list? Good question. So I would say there is no limit. Of course, the more investors you have on your list, the higher your chances are of selling a deal when you send that deal out to that list. So if you have, let's say, 30 investors in Birmingham, and then you get that are looking for rent-to-rent deals specifically, and you get a rent-to-rent deal in Birmingham, it's going to be very easy for you to sell that deal if you send it to that list of Birmingham investors, the 30, right? But the difference is going to be how many of them are qualified, right? So it's not so much about the number on the list, it's about how qualified they are. I'll give you an example. I was speaking with a lady a few weeks back who was interested in working with me, joining the program, and she was speaking about the fact that she had like a list of 100 investors. And I just know firsthand when people talk about having hundreds of investors on their list, usually, I'm not going to say always, because some people have put the work in and spoken to hundreds of investors and qualified them, right? But usually they haven't qualified that list. And what you find is that list of 100 that you think is serious and ready to take a deal when you send it, when you send deals out to them, you realize it's not 100. There's only maybe a handful of people that are really serious, right? But that's because they wasn't qualified correctly at the beginning. So that's what plays a big part. So I would say, to answer your actual question, Linda, I think it was Linda that asked that, wasn't it? It was Linda, yeah. To answer your actual question, Linda, as many as possible, but as long as they are all qualified, right? So if you've got 30 investors on your list for an area and they're all qualified, brilliant. You're going to sell deals very, very easily. Now, because I think what you might be asking is more about when to kind of move to the next step, right? So to foundation number 4, the network, the sources, the agents, and actually getting deals, sending them to the list. When do you move on to that part of the process? I advise the guys to wait until they're at least 10 qualified investors before they switch their attention to securing deals. Again, 10 is a good number. It increases the odds of you selling a deal when you send it out. But in the background, what you'll find is your list will continue to grow organically anyway, just because of the amount of messages you're sending out with the way that I'm going to show you. So yeah, you can grow a very good sized list. The most important part is, though, we just want to make sure they're qualified. Okay. I hope that answers your question, Linda. Stephen asked a good question as well. So on average, what's the number you need to reach out to in order to get your 10 qualified investors? That's a very good question. And I'll be honest with you, Stephen, it's less about how many people you have to reach out to, because I'll give you another example. You have one person you've got 2 sources who are reaching out to investors, right? Both of them have sent 100 messages, let's say, for example. But one of them is sending his outreach, his initial message to investors as voice notes, right? So it's coming across very genuine, authentic. You know, the response rate is much better. People are opening the message. Whereas the other person is sending them all just in written form. So he is getting some people that are opening it and responding, but it's a little less than the one with the voice notes. So now, if we go back to your question, Stephen, if we was to look at the 2, we'd be a little bit confused, right? You've both sent 100 messages, but only one of you is getting a certain amount of responses. But that's all down to the approach, right? So I think get the approach right first, which I constantly try to get into people's heads so that they understand that it's not just about just, you know, shooting those messages out. It's doing it the right way, because actually you can end up getting the job done with sending less messages if you just do it a certain way. So I hope that makes sense, Stephen. Okay. Any other questions? Let's see. Linda said, yes. Claire, check the demand in the Facebook groups. Yes, definitely need to check the demand in the groups, guys. Even if it's an area that you think you know, just have a quick look. It takes a couple of minutes. You guys see me do it in the masterclass videos, again, that are in the group. So please watch them all when you get time. It's a very quick process. So yeah, check them out. Tracy asks, what do you say in the first contact message? Tracy, please watch the videos. There's 2 very good videos in the group that I break all of that down to you. I think in one of them I break it down in really good detail, because I even share the screen and kind of show you where to find the investors, what to say, etc. So please watch those. But whilst I've got you here and you've asked the question, our initial message is very straightforward. It's pretty much just, if I saw that it was you that had left a comment on a rent-to-rent deal in an area that I'm covering, so let's say London. Let's say I'm covering London and I'm looking for investors. I've gone into the Facebook group, I've put London, I've hit enter, and as I've gone down, in one of the comment sections, I've come across you. So I've sent you a message. The first message I'm going to send you is going to sound something like, hi Tracy, hope you're well. I just saw that you left a comment on a rent-to-rent deal in London. I just wanted to check whether you're still interested in those types of deals at the moment. I'm actually sourcing in the area. It would be great to have a chat with you about how I can help. Done, right? You don't have to say that word for word how I'm saying it. I've just freestyled that, right? I've been doing it so long that I can just say it. I don't need the script. but that's pretty much what you want to do. So in that message, what you're trying to do is, one, obviously kind of jog their memory and refer to the fact that you saw that they already expressed interest in that type of deal, right? And that's very important, by the way, guys. Reason being, we want to let them know that this isn't cold outreach. We haven't just picked you out of thin air and messaged you, right? We've seen that you are interested in the types of deals that we're actively sourcing right now, and it's in the areas that we're covering. So it makes sense for us to reach out. So that's why we want to mention that. Oh, I saw that you expressed interest in a rent-to-rent deal in London. So just thought I'd quickly reach out. Are you still looking for those types of deals at the moment? Right. So we want to find out if they're still looking for those types of deals. And that's pretty much it. It's very, very important, though, like I said, to just refer to the fact that we're reaching out to them because we've seen that they've expressed interest in that type of deal. Make sure you mention rent-to-rent. Make sure you mention the area. Because I've seen some people, although I do advise you to kind of not just copy what I say word for word, still kind of try and stick in that framework, right? Because I've seen people, message investors, and they don't mention the area or that it's a rent-to-rent deal. They're just kind of like, oh, hi, I saw that you was interested in some deals in one of the groups, just seeing if you're still looking, like not being specific. So it just opens the door for the investor to be like, what are you talking about? What group did I comment on? Oh, what deals you talking about, etc., etc. Because sometimes people kind of get on the defensive very, very quickly if you approach them the wrong way, right? So be clear, be very clear on why you've reached out to them, and people will respond to that much better, because now they know, okay, you haven't just reached out for the fun of it. You've seen that this is what I'm looking for, and you want to help me you want to help me find it. So they'll be more open to speaking with you. Okay. I hope that makes sense, Tracy. But like I said, go and watch the videos, and I go into a bit more detail, and I kind of share the screen and actually do it for you in real time. So I hope that will be a little bit more helpful.
Thank you.
Okay, I can, no problem, no worries. Again, just quickly, I can see Lisa. Hey, Lisa. I was trying to see who that was. Hiya, how are you? You okay? You well?
I'm fine. Just
Good,
about.
good. Talk to me. So you probably, did you have a specific question? Sorry, before I go into it, did you have a specific question?
I did have a couple of things that I was concerned about, more to do with investors, really.
Okay.
So I was wondering if, just trying to find out how I could actually ask you this question. But so in your experience, I mean, just dealing with investors, when you're going through, say, a process of a deal, and you're going backwards and forwards between yourself and the investor, and doing a lot of negotiations and stuff, and then all of a sudden it seems like maybe that deal is not going to go through in the end, and then the investor,
because of the investor?
Sorry,
it's not gonna, sorry, not to interrupt you, but just so I'm clear, it's not going to go through because of the investor, or a different reason?
More so to do with the landlord or
Okay.
or the agent, or a sourcer, actually.
Okay.
So if it's not going to, just looks like it's not going to go through, what's I going to say? How and then you're trying to, you're trying to you realize it's probably not going to go anywhere, and probably the investor probably realizes, even though it's gone through to the next day now, negotiations, they're still trying to get certain information, it's not going to go through, and then the investor just disappears on you when you're trying to you're just trying to get some feedback from them. Is that a normal scenario where investors sort of like just disappear and don't continue with the communication with you anymore? Or and in terms of like, for example, if they're on your list and so you haven't sent anything for a while, while you're trying to build up your investor list, how can you guarantee, do you think that they're still going to be there and hang around waiting, and then all of a sudden you appear and so I've got this deal, that they're just going to it's odd, it feels like it's like there's a long time between you getting the investor list together and then approaching them with a deal. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's not immediate.
let me-
So will they still be there? And also, what do you do? What do you do with the investors that don't give you
Lisa,
any
one second.
feedback?
Lisa, one sec. You are firing loads of questions all at
Sorry.
once. Well, we need to
That's
unpack
sorry,
them.
that's
One sec.
sorry,
Okay. So
sorry, that's
first
how my
question.
brain's working. Sorry.
No worries.
I
No,
was trying to figure out how to say it to you without,
It's
and I probably
fine.
came out like a jumbled up and everything.
It's
So
fine. No. It didn't come out jumbled up. It's fine. I got the questions. I just want to make sure that I don't forget them. Right. So
okay, no worries, no
let me
worries.
just
You do it.
let me just go through them one by one. So the
Yeah.
first question that you asked was about, oh, my pen stopped working. The first question that you asked was about a specific deal, right? Or it sounded like it was a specific deal. Or was you talking hypothetically?
No, I was talking about a specific deal. In
Okay,
fact,
cool.
I've had an issue with a couple of specific deals that fell through to do with
Okay.
two different investors. But
Let me
yeah.
answer you. Let me unpack it. So because I want to
Okay.
make sure you're clear moving forward. If you're not clear, all that's going to
Yeah.
happen is you're going to go back, try and do the same things again and not get anywhere because
Yeah.
you're doing the same things, right? So I want to make sure that you're clear on what to do moving forward. Obviously, we've spoken before, right? So
Yeah.
I understand that you started the process, you've had breaks, you're trying to figure it out and things like that. So I want to make sure that you're really clear. So when you go back to it, you know exactly what to do. So on the
Yeah.
first question, right?
Yeah.
Communication wise, this deal, when did it start?
When did it start?
Yeah, when did the investor express interest in the deal? When did you send the deal out?
No, I saw a deal. We saw a deal, myself and my daughter, so we worked together as a team, but I saw a deal and I said, this looks good, because we actually know the other sourcer from before we joined your group before. And so because we already had an investor that had gone, I said, this deal looks like it would suit them. So I contacted the sourcer to find out if they were willing to co-source. And they said they would on that particular one of them anyway. And
when was that? When was that?
Oh, that was before we came away from your first program. We were trying to get a deal so that we could actually continue on your program.
But Lisa, one sec, I want to be specific. So it sounded like this was something recent. So
it was quite recent. It was like, oh gosh, I don't know. We're in May now. Gosh, I can't remember the time frame. It might have been about, I don't know, it might be in March or something.
Okay.
I can't quote me on that because I can't remember exactly. It's been quite recent.
That's fine. Don't worry. That's fine. Those details they're not that important. I was just trying to get an idea, just because I want to kind of have a timeline of when did it start. Because what I'm trying to get from you is when did you send the deal and the investor was interested and now they wanted to view? What was the gap between that to them stopping communicating? Like, was it a big gap? Was there like loads of time between them, and or was it like a couple of days?
It was literally because basically it was a few days, because we were in contact with the sourcer and we couldn't get in, we could only speak to them at certain times because they were busy as well. So I had presented the deal to my investor, and the investor signed the NDA and everything, was happy to do all of that. And then we were getting to the stage where he was even happy to go and view the property, but we were then getting the sourcer that was in touch with the agent then contacted us and said, unfortunately, on the morning we were going to arrange, sorry for them to do the viewing, that they said the deal had not gone through. Somehow the agent had found somebody else. It was from an estate agent. So that fell through. But when I was still dealing with that particular investor, he was happy to find out if we had anything else, and we didn't really have anything else at that moment to pass on to him, although we did pass on something that somebody else sort of had, but we didn't get any more feedback on it from him. It's like it just disappeared, and that was it. And then there was another deal where a bit later on. Should I continue or you?
No, I'm just trying to understand. So that deal is the one that we're talking about, the one where the agent had gone with someone else. Is that the deal we're talking about?
So there is two deals. So it's just I think I found like there was a common, what's the word, a common thread with both situations with both investors. So the second investor on another deal, this is a few weeks or so later. I can't remember the timeline, but it's around that. It was, they weren't far apart from each other.
1 second,
I had,
Lisa. Just before we move on, because I don't want to move on to this next one before we deal with this one, right?
okay.
So with this one, because we need to be
Mm.
clear on this to make sure we understand what's gone wrong.
Yeah.
So the deal was sent. So this deal came via a co-sourcer. The co-sourcer got it from an agent, right? Which is
Yeah.
fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just to be clear.
Yeah.
And then you've got the deal because this co-sourcer is in your network. You've sent the deal out to. Did you send it to the list or just one person?
Just one person that I
Okay.
knew that would be interested
Okay.
because, to be honest with you, it wasn't in my main list of, like, it's not part of my main areas. It was someone we had that we were thinking of covering that area as a separate thing anyway, but it's not.
Okay.
It's not part. Yeah.
Okay, no, that's fine. So you sent it to one investor. That investor is said that they're interested. Did you speak to
They
them on
were.
the phone? Did you get to speak to them on the phone?
Yes, we spoke
Yeah,
to him on him on the phone. We passed it. I just basically asked him if he was would he be interested in this, and he said, "Oh yes." And we spoke on the phone, and we got him to sign an NDA, and we also passed over the information to him. He was fine with that.
And then what happened? After he signed the NDA, what happened? I'm trying to get the timeline. So after he signed the NDA,
After
he wanted to view?
Yeah, after he signed the NDA, we were then going back to the co-sourcer to find out when we could actually get a viewing for him. And we actually spoke to our investor, and investor said that he was going to be able to do that with the following week, by the Monday or Tuesday. So say like it was on the weekend, Friday, Saturday, we'd spoken to the co-sourcer, but it was a long day where we didn't have any. I tried to contact him. He must have been busy. So it was a whole day went by where I couldn't get hold of him. So we were saying to our investor probably early Monday, Tuesday of the following week, we'll probably get a viewing for him. That's when he said he would be happy to do that. So, but by the time, backtracking. So by the time, it was still the weekend. So by the time Saturday morning came, I had a message from the co-sourcer telling me that the deal had gone. Yeah, because the agent had found someone else.
Yeah.
So
and then
so I went back to my investor and explained that sorry, unfortunately the deal has not, has fallen through and they've found somebody else. And then they were saying, it's okay, thanks for the update. But he was prior to that, he was asking if there's anything else that we had. We didn't have anything else in the area that he wanted, but he surprisingly wanted another area, which was London, actually, which was one of our areas we were covering, but I didn't really have anything at that moment. But somebody had passed something on, we passed it to him as an example, but he never responded to it. So I'm assuming from his non-response that he wasn't interested. And then I never heard from him again. I mean, we have no contact again because after that deal didn't happen, everything, that was it.
Okay, couple of questions. So when you spoke to him and told him that the deal fell through, you did speak to him and he said that was fine.
He said, actually, what did I do? I think I messaged him, and he said, thank you for the update. He was fine. Oh yeah, I tried to call him, but he didn't answer. That's the first one. But he was fine with it. He was okay. He was okay with it.
He was fine with it. So then, okay, and then
but then he didn't respond to the second message that we gave him about another deal at all. He didn't respond to it.
Did you call him after that?
No, because I thought maybe it'd be bothering him. So I didn't.
No. You can't look at it like that. You have to call him. You have to. You can
I
never
messaged him and asked him, "Are you interested in this?" And he didn't respond.
You've heard me say this before, Lisa, probably many times, right? And I'll say it again for everyone else on the call. Never, ever, ever assume that because you've sent someone a message and they haven't responded that they're not interested. You should never, ever do that. It's a big mistake. Because I'm telling you now, if you call 100 people and just as a survey and you spoke to all 100 of them after you've sent them a deal, let's say, for example, or just a message, forget a deal, just any message, and you said to them, you saw my message, you didn't respond, or did you see my message because I didn't get a respond? A large majority of them are going to say, one, I didn't even see the message, didn't even know you sent me a message. Two, I saw the message, but I was so busy, I didn't get a chance to come back to you. And that's usually the two. And it's true because, like, for example, just put yourself in that person's shoes, right? Someone sends you a message, you read the message, you want to respond, but maybe the kids make noise. You got to attend to them. The phone rings, something else comes up. And then because maybe this isn't a priority yet, it's not something super important in your life yet, you're not gonna necessarily automatically remember. It's our job to keep it in their mind. It's our job. So this is why you guys always hear me talk about follow-up calls. Super important for that exact reason, because people will send the deal out to their list and they'll assume that because maybe 10 don't respond, that 10 aren't interested. But then we get 10 on the phone and we find out that 10 didn't even see the message. Right? All the time. Literally, like not once or twice. I'm talking hundreds of times that I've done that call out session for people in the program, you know, and everybody's heard it live. Majority of the people didn't even see the message. So that's why I even say follow-up calls are more important than even sending the deal out. If I had a choice between send follow-up call, send the deal out in written form or do phone calls, I'm always picking phone calls all day without question.
Yeah.
So to go back to your point, not to stray, in that situation, I think until you've called him and tried to speak to him again, because honestly, everything you've told me so far sounds like he has been communicating. It's just this one, the deal that he was interested in fell out of bed. So interest in that is gone. You sent him something else. Now you need to find out whether he's seen it, what he thinks about it, what his objections are, if there are any objections, and actually explore it. Don't just go off the fact that he hasn't responded. It's not a good enough signal for you to go off of. And, you know, you don't want to, last thing you want is someone who's a good investor, you'd end up not communicating with them anymore because you think they're not interested, but really it's just that they're busy, you know? And if you get them on call, they're going to say it to you. Yeah, that makes sense? That's on that one.
That makes sense. That was a while ago though, so we kind of like haven't had a conversation since, because we haven't had anything there to give. So we haven't had any kind of conversation since. I'm thinking to myself, because I mean, as the person in the middle, I have no control over what the other co-sourcer is doing on the other side. And sometimes I get the impression that with some investors that they don't really like dealing with deal sourcers because a lot of them don't know what they're doing. That I think they feel that they don't really know how to close the deal, or they don't really.
I disagree.
That's what they've said to me. That's what they've said to me.
Yeah, but it's not that they don't like deal sourcers. It's like they don't like bad deal sourcers. They don't like
that's probably what it is then. I think that's what it is.
Because the bottom line is, if they don't know how to find the deal themselves, they have to use a deal sourcer. Or not necessarily even they don't know how. If they don't have the time, the resources to go out and find these deals themselves, speak to landlords, speak to agents, speak to sourcers, they have to go with a sourcer. And as long as it's a good sourcer that does a good job and communicates well and gets the deal over the line and only, does what they want them to do, then they're gonna like them. So I disagree, because and it's not to say that you're wrong. I think it's just the way sometimes these conversations come across. It might come across that they feel like, all deal sources are the same, but it's just like, it's the same as estate agents. Estate agents have a certain stigma, but investors still buy millions and millions and millions of pounds of property from estate agents. People who are buying their homes to live in still buy them from estate agents, even though there's that stigma, right? What you'll find is, if they get on with that estate agent, if they're happy with the way the estate agent handles them and deals with their sale, etc., then they're happy with that one. There might be others that they don't like for whatever reason. So I always say, don't worry too much about what people think about everyone, like the blanket opinion of everyone. Worry about your communication with them. Because, like, for example, when I do follow-up calls to investors, I cannot
Yeah.
tell you the amount of times they've said to me, "Oh my God, Gary, you're the first one." You might, I don't know if you've ever heard replays or lives. Oh my God, Gary, you're the first deal sourcer who I've ever actually spoken to on the phone. Oh my God, Gary, you're the first deal sourcer who sent me a deal and actually called and asked, "Have I seen it?" I'm like, "You're joking." They're like, "No, nobody ever does that. No one does that. They just send it, right?" So communication is key. And I bet you'll be very surprised when you call that investor and you just, even if you just say it tongue in cheek, just as banter, just like, "Oh, Gary, where you gone missing? I haven't heard from you since that last deal." I guarantee you there's a reason. He's gonna be like, "Oh, sorry, I was busy," or whatever it is. And then you start to realize that, okay, I can't just go off the fact that I sent a message and the person didn't respond. I have to speak to them. I have to reach out. I have to, because again, that's what our job is, because we're the one trying to do business with that person. So we have to hunt. We have to be, reaching out, put yourself in their mind, right, so to speak. So I think that's where I think to go back to your original question, there's nothing you could have done about the situation. The deal fell out of bed. Someone else got the deal. It happens all the time. That's the nature of this business. So in that situation, there was nothing you could do. I think as long as you was communicating with the investor, which it sounds like you was throughout that process, let them know, look, apologies, haven't had a response, but look, the minute I get a response, I will let you know. Apologies, look, as you said, you had the call and told him, unfortunately, the deal is no longer available. That's what I would expect. And as long as you do that, people are fine. As you said, you told him and he was fine with it. He didn't say, "Oh, okay, I don't want to speak to you ever again. Get me off your list." He was like, "Okay, no problem," because he knows that's the nature of the business. That's how it goes. Some you're gonna get, some you're not, right? So with that situation, I think what you need to do is speak to him, give him a call when you can, and just find out, right? One thing I would definitely say, and what to say to him. So if it was you, if it was you, I would give you a call and I would just basically be saying, "Hey, Lisa, look, so just catching up. We haven't spoken in a while." In fact, I think the last time and I would touch on the fact that, the last time we spoke was when that deal fell out of bed. Apologies for that again. It was out of my hands. I would have loved to have got that across the line for you. But I sent you over another one. Did you see it? I sent it over maybe a day or so afterwards. I'm just kind of catching up from where we left off, really. Don't have to overthink it. It's just a conversation. You know what was said on the last convo, so you're just picking up from there, right? And then if you leave that to one side, it's more, okay, well, look, we haven't spoken in a while. More than anything, I just want to make sure criteria is still the same, nothing's changed. Because if anything else comes up, I want to send it out to you and maybe have a chat. But I just want to make sure nothing's changed first, So that's your excuse to touch base with him. I always say to the guys in the other group that every time you speak with your investor, there's kind of like, if there's like an imaginary scoreboard, or like a tally chart, an imaginary tally chart, every time you have a phone call conversation with your investor, you're adding a tally to that rapport, that relationship, that familiarity, that trust, right? So if me and you speak to the exact same investor and we're trying to compete on who's going to get the trust first and basically end up selling the deal to him first, if you're speaking to him, regularly, and I'm not at all, I'm just sending deals, just keep sending them in written form and just hoping that one day he'll come back to me. When that final deal does land, that maybe both of us have access to, he's going to buy the deal from you. 100%, because in terms of scoreboard, in terms of relationships, he's way more comfortable with you. He's way more familiar with you, right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
So with that gentleman, you need to get him on a phone call and just catch up. That's it. Don't have to you're not trying to sell him anything on that call. You're not trying to, we're just catching up since we spoke last.
Yeah. I see.
Okay.
Yeah.
One other thing I would say as well, Lisa, you probably know what I'm going to say. Sending the deal to one investor. You see, right? You see the risk.
I'm supposed to build up my investor list. I know that's what you're going to tell me.
Well, this is the thing, right? So like I said to Bibek, like I said to Stephen, the reason why I really, really love this little, if I may say so myself, because as I made it, but this little timeline, foundations, so to speak, because honestly, Lisa, like, you can just look at it and you can see, okay, that's missing. It makes sense why these other things aren't falling in place. Like you just heard me break down with Bibek on his situation. He's someone who's getting deals, but for some
Yeah.
reason, in the past 2 months, he hasn't been able to sell any of those deals. He has no investors. That's clearly why, right? Someone like Steven, similar situation. Someone like yourself, similar situation, right? Where I think maybe you have more investors, but let's even talk about that, like how, in terms of your list, because on that one we were just discussing, that wasn't your area, so obviously you couldn't send it to more investors. But in terms
No,
of your areas, how you getting?
we haven't, to be honest with you, we since we haven't done that much. We really have to get back on it. We're kind of like being discouraged, really. Yeah, discouraged. My daughter's in the background saying, yeah, discouraged. And she's signed up to you as well, Tracy, as well, even though we're together. So you probably see that her on there next
Yeah.
week as well. Oh, next time you do it, sorry. But I guess that we only have like we only have like 5. We have about 7 altogether, but we have 2 that are not within that our particular areas, but 5 qualified investors. But we haven't really, because there's been there's been a long gap. Now I'm beginning to think, it's kind of discouraging, because I can start thinking, well, are they even going to be there when I decide to start
Lisa,
selling deals? And
Lisa,
then yeah.
why are you trying to guess whether they're going to be there or not? Why not just ask them?
Okay. See, that's the thing. It's getting the confidence to call them. Why am I calling them? They're probably thinking I'm bothering them. If I could get a call, by the way, we don't have any deals. Are you still interested in these areas? Is that what I'm saying to them?
Can I just say something to you, right?
Yeah.
If you think about every business, right?
Yeah.
Every single business that
Yeah.
reaches out to you, me, everyone on the call every single day. Like, if every single one of us was to go into our emails, for example, I know it's not the same as a phone call, but just as an example, if we were to go into our emails, we would see we have messages from everyone. Tesco's, H&M, JD Sports, this person, Apple, blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
None of those people in their mind think to themselves, why am I reaching out to this person? You know why? Because they already know that we're qualified. They've already qualified us. They already know we're looking for that thing, right? We might not buy it today, we might not buy it tomorrow, but for some reason, we've ended up in their funnel. We've ended up in their world, whereby we're obviously interested in the thing that they sell. It's the exact same thing for you. There's nobody that has ended up on your investor list by accident, or by force, or by trickery. So what happens is, whenever you call those people, they know why you're calling them. This is the whole reason why that initial phone call is so important as well. Like, as I was mentioning to Bibek, it's not just the fact that, okay, it's that human interaction, so it helps you kind of break the ice and build a rapport straight away. It is it's also down to the fact that, how do I even explain it? How do I even break it down? Yeah, I think you just try not to overthink it. I think that's the main thing.
I think that's what I'm doing.
Try not to overthink it.
And then I start getting emotional about it.
Yeah, honestly. And what I would say is, as well, also, Lisa, and I think I've said this before, you're in a fortunate position where it's not just yourself doing it. You've got your daughter working with you. So bounce off of each other. If I don't know whether Keisha is more confident doing phone calls, or whether maybe tell me, actually, who's more confident, like phone calls, speaking to people?
Yeah, it's probably me, but Keisha's not so much so with the phone calls. She likes messaging.
Okay, so you have to work on your strong points, right? Until one of you are happy to step out of your comfort zone and do the thing that maybe you feel you're weaker on, even though you're probably not weak on it, right? When you get on the phone calls, I'm pretty sure they're fine, they flow, you get on well, you're well spoken, you've got banter, like there's character there, right? So you don't need to worry too much. You're overthinking what you think those investors are going to say when you get them on the phone, because
that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, because you're forgetting that they're on your list in the first place for a reason. You're calling them for a reason. There's no, like I said, there's no calling by force.
But Gary, it feels like they just disappear when you try to contact. Like, that was one example. Another example of another investor that we another deal that we tried to do. That one was a little bit more complicated because the co-sourcer literally picked him randomly from a chat group or something, and I thought, oh, he's got a deal that one of my investors would be interested in, and that the investor that I passed it on to was very much interested in it, but there was a problem on the co-sourcer side where they hadn't actually done their DD properly, and we ended up having to go back and forth in negotiations with this person to find out about this HMO and if it was legit or not or whatever. We did all our checks, and unfortunately that deal didn't go through. But my investor was, very chatty, very keen on it at first. And he helped with some of the DD as well. I mean, he obviously was doing some of it on there while we were looking at the same time, because I guess he wanted to check out, because he did sign an NDA and got some information. But I think more near to the end, because it was just going back and forth, and we were me and my daughter were feeling like we're stressed, actually, because it's quite a stressful situation to have to keep on trying to make sure everything's accurate and it's okay. With the co-sourcer was going back to the landlord, and in the end, I think the landlord had different. In the end, it turned out the landlord had a totally different thing that he wanted to do with the property in the end anyway. So it kind of felt like a waste of time. But during the process, during talking to the investor, and he seemed quite keen about it, at the end of the day, when we got to it, I think he kind of realized that it wasn't going to go through, and we kind of did more near to the end. And when I actually did finally message him and say, I'm so sorry, this hasn't actually gone through. I tried to voice message him, and I tried to get him on a call, but he didn't answer, and he just disappeared. The investor just disappeared, and I kind of feel, oh gosh, how do you approach that? When I even asked him, a voice message him, I said, we'd really like some feedback about the deal and how, just what to do moving forward. And he hasn't even acknowledged it. He didn't answer my calls, nothing.
Well, in that situation, obviously, I have to assume, right? I'm going to assume, because you told him that obviously there was some issues with the actual deal itself because of lack of DD. So I would assume that that's put him off, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
Being honest with you, as you know, I have a whole process for how this strategy works. So I would not have even sent that deal out to the list without going through the checklist that we go through before, when we get a deal from a co-sourcer. So already we would have picked up on that okay, this deal hasn't been secured properly. We're not sending it to the list.
Sorry,
so that's
Gary.
something that,
Sorry, guys, Keisha, just to let you know,
for it.
we did confirm, but he lied.
What did he lie about?
Either the landlord lied, or the guy doing the thing lied, or didn't double check. He said that they did have HMO license and all this stuff, and then when I was searching it, it was just flagging as nothing. And I kept saying to him, are you sure? Are you sure? And then he kept saying, yeah, it's done. It's so. I will send over the details. I'll send over pictures. I'll send over stuff. And I said, well, can you send
over
it?
The pictures?
He never sent it over. And then I said to him, you haven't given me the right address or something. Either you haven't given me the right address, or you're telling me, telling lies. And then he said, oh, I gave the wrong address.
I understand what you're saying, but you said it yourself, right? You picked up that something was wrong. This is that's before you sent the deal out. You're talking about, right? When you said you checked to see, you was checking to see if it was.
No, because he signed.
Was that before or after the deal out?
After, because we signed it and did an NDA with him. He sent us the address. I had already checked it out, and then that particular address had something right on it. But then I realized that something was not right. Something was not adding up after we sent the deal out to the investor. I was thinking something's not adding up. Something feels off. And then I went by the hunch, and then went back to search in on it, and then realized that yes, there was a property next to it that had the HMO, but not his one.
So this is where you guys have gone wrong, right? Is that these things need to be checked before you send the deal out. That's all it is. You just have to check these things. I have a whole co-sourcer checklist, and this co-sourcer checklist is for before the deal is sent out. So because there's no point in us doing the check after, it's too late by then. And the result of that is, like I said, again, I'm assuming, because I don't know how you was communicating with the investor, what the conversations were in between. But I'm going to assume that if he was communicating in between, and then obviously he found out about this issue of lack of DD being done, and then he's disappeared, I'm going to assume that's the reason why. So
Yeah.
situation, you just listen, but it's a lesson learned. Don't beat yourself up about it. Don't feel demotivated. Like I say to people all the time, we're not in this business to try and do one deal. One deal is like barely, not even scratching the surface. So if one deal doesn't go through, it's like, okay, great. You can't get too attached, right? Because what happens is when you get too attached, you put everything into just that one deal. And then what happens when that one deal doesn't happen? You're demotivated. You don't want to do it anymore, right? Or you slow down. So I would say take this as a lesson, right? You've got, I think there's in both of those situations that you've just given to me, both scenarios, there are definitely lessons that you can take away from it. I think in the first one, it's about making sure that you're focusing on your area. There's no point in like wasting time, so to speak, trying to do deals in other areas. If you haven't got the clients there, it's always going to be more difficult because you have to kind of start from scratch to find this buyer, right? Put your time and effort into the areas that you've spent time crafting your investor listing, building this qualified list, so that when there's a deal, you're confident. You already know, okay, I've got 10 investors that I have spoken to. All 10 of these people have said, yes, Gary, I'm looking for a rent-to-rent deal in Birmingham. If you get it, I can move fast. If you get it and I take it, I'll pay you a £3,000 sourcing fee. I've already got units, this, that, blah, blah, blah. Everything that I need to hear from me to feel comfortable, right? So only focus on the areas where you've got investors like that. Multiple, not the one, right? But also I think what you need to do is on the second one is just communicate. That's it. And I think on both of them, just communicate, right? Just speak to your clients a little bit more as much as you can, because you'll find that it makes things a little bit easier. I think on that first deal, on the second deal that you sent out, if you would have had a conversation with your co-sourcer, which you guys did, but I think it happened after. But if you had the conversation that Keisha just told me about, the one you had after it was sent out, if you had it before, everything would have been perfect, because you'd pick up on the issue and you would have said, you know what, as much as I want to do business with you, I want to send your deal out, things are not right, so I can't, right?
That's what
and
we
then
learned.
Those issues.
That's what I said to my daughter actually after the situation. I said, you know what, I think that's what we need to do, is make sure that when we're talking to a co-sourcer that everything has been done properly, the DD has been done, so we are confident in the deal before we send it out to anybody. Because those are two good investors that I have. That he's a good investor. He was ready to go. But it's just that the deal was just a mishmash of mess, really, because I just said that's what he kept sending them. Yeah, so we needed to really make sure even before, we needed to make sure we speak to the co-sourcer, make sure that we understand the deal, that we've done our DD, that they're giving us the correct information, that everything's okay. And he hadn't even written anything up before we're even were ready to send it out to an investor, because I don't really want to lose an investor, or for an investor to turn around and think that, gosh, what kind of deal sources are they? That they can't. I'm thinking, what does he think of us now? The deal, because we're trying to be genuinely honest and operate with integrity, and he probably doesn't think that much of us now, because it was kind of a bit of a mess for that situation. That's what's discouraging.
I'm telling you, communication is key. That what you just said is absolutely right. That's how I operate as well. It's like I want people to see that I'm authentic, I'm real, I'm genuine. I'm not trying to, it's not smoke and mirrors. And the easiest way for me to do that is communicate. The more I communicate, like even if we just use you guys as an example, everyone on this call, if I speak to you every single day for the next month, even if it's just 30 minutes a day, an hour, whatever it is, you're gonna start to get an appreciation for the type of person that I am. So even if we was to try and do a deal together and it went wrong, as long as I communicate with you and keep you up to date with what's happening, and even if it's not going to plan, even if it's an absolute mess, if I communicate it with you, you're always going to respect me. You're always going to, it doesn't matter, because I've communicated, I've kept you in the loop, so to speak, right? So that's what you need to do. And that's the way that you're going to continue to grow that authenticity, that, you know, that those real relationships with your clients. Just keep speaking to them. At the moment, not saying you are, but I know for a fact that a lot of deal sources are hiding from speaking to their clients, and they don't even realize that it's just doing more damage than good. Because like I said to you, look, when I speak to investors, when I speak to them, they tell me, they say, Gary, deal sources don't even speak to us. Like, they're always shocked. The first time I speak to someone on the phone, they're always shocked to hear my voice. They're always kind of like, nobody really approaches us this way. It's like, you might get one quick phone call, maybe if there's supposed to be a viewing happening or something, but that's kind of because like you don't have a choice. But just genuine human conversations and interaction, most deal sources are doing that. So just implement that. And how I want you to do it, and how I want you to step out of your comfort zone and help yourself, is those 2 investors that we've just discussed. Speak to them, give them a call when you're next available, and just speak to them. And I'm promise you, you're going to be so surprised at the reaction. Both of them are going to be fine, unless they're just unreasonable people. If they're unreasonable people, you probably would have seen signs of that already, just from dealing with them before. But if they haven't been, which it sounds from what you've told me, doesn't sound like they've been unreasonable. When you speak with them on a level and just say, look, you know, for like the first situation, for example, you know, look, apologies. You know, if it was down to me, of course, I would have wanted the landlord to go with you, right? There's no benefit to me, somebody else taking the deal. So I apologize, and I really do want to work with you. And I just wanted to make sure more than anything that we're still okay. You know, you're still comfortable working with me, you know, and just clear everything up and make sure that we're communicating with each other moving forward. That's the first one. Second one, similar thing. Look, sincere apologies, you know, and maybe you have to put your hands up and just say, look, I should have looked into the deal a little bit more before I sent it out. So that's my bad, and I apologize. But you can rest assured, any deal that I send forward, you know, this has been a real wake-up call for us. So you can rest assured, any deal we send you moving forward will be looked at very closely, right? Because now we know, right? Alarm bells have been rang. So now you can give them that peace of mind, right? We don't want to be back in this situation, and we don't want you to feel like we're not professional. So when you have conversations like that, people respond so much better. You know, so give it a go. See how I would love to hear how they go. Everybody who's been in this situation that I've advised to do this, they've come back and said, Gary, conversation went really well. I don't think one person has come back and go, oh my God, they bit my head off. And it just doesn't normally happen. And like I said, if they're that type of person, I mean, and this is the thing, genuinely, Lisa, if they were unreasonable, you'd already know. You would already know, just from trying to like get them interested in the deal and get them to go and view and things like that. You would already have seen signs that, okay, this person, they're not the easiest to work with. You know, they're rude, they've got attitude, whatever it is. But if they've been fine up to this point, then I think it's just a breakdown in communication. So you just need to pick it back. That's all it is.
I will do that. I'll definitely do that. Thank you so much, Gary.
No worries at all. It's good to catch up with you as well. As always.
Thank you for all your time and support. Thank you. It's very valuable.
No worries.
Thank you, Gary.
No worries. Really, really good to catch up, guys. Okay, so that was Keisha and Lisa. Let me just make sure I haven't missed any more questions, and then I'm going to let you lovely lot go. We still have 8 people on. There was 10 a minute ago, but I think a few people have dropped off. Okay. Any last questions, guys, before we wrap things up? And I really, really hope that these questions that the guys, Lisa, Bibek, everyone, you know, the conversations that you've heard have been useful. I think it's always good for you to hear Q&A sessions, because even if you don't have anything to ask, someone else might ask something that you're like, oh, wow, I didn't even think I needed to know that, right? So I hope you found it useful and valuable. I can't see any other questions. Linda made a comment before she left. The confidence comes from making the calls. The more calls you make, the more confident you become. 100%. She's gone, but Linda is absolutely right. That is it. You know, when I started in sales 10 plus years ago, I remember I was so nervous making calls because I'd never done it before. Right, and that's all it is. It's something new. If you're not accustomed to picking up the phone and calling people and speaking to people in this way anyway, then of course it's going to feel a little bit nerve-wracking. But I promise you, you make 1 or 2 phone calls, you very, very quickly find your feet. right? And with someone like me behind you, pushing you, guiding you, you'll be absolutely fine. You're definitely gonna be going in the right direction. So please, 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 guys, give it a go. I'm actually going to be setting you guys a challenge next week. So for those of you who are on the call, you're the first to hear it. I haven't announced it in the group yet, but I'm going to be doing a challenge next week. So keep an eye out in the group for any posts, any information. If there's anything you didn't get a chance to ask on this call, when I upload this, it's still recording, isn't it? Yeah, it's still recording. So when I upload this recording in the group, which I'm going to do later this evening, pop your questions underneath in the comments and I'll go back and forth with you. Other than that, just keep a lookout for the next call, which will be probably next week. As you guys are in the free group, you'll get a call every now and then. I do daily phone calls in the program group. So phone calls like this, we do every day. So if you have any issues, we tackle them head on. We do phone calls together live. For example, if Lisa had, you know, a deal she was struggling with and we're kind of like trying to figure it out, we can just get the people on the phone now and I'll help you walk through it, right? So very, very hands-on. So if you need that type of support, the information's in the free group that you're all in. It's pinned to the top. More than happy to have you in there. And I'll see you on tomorrow's call because we do have a call in there tomorrow. Other than that, just keep an eye out for this group. Any content that I put out, any information I put out, and the next phone call, which, as I said, will probably be next week. Okay, guys, I really, really appreciate your time. Thank you for hanging on. How long have we been on? We started at 7. It's 9. Okay, only 2 hours. Not too. I appreciate your patience, and I will see you inside the group. Have a great evening. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.